Hello, my name's Toby Thompson. I'm here with Philip Smith, former DBA student here at Cranfield. Philip, tell me how was your DBA experience? You graduated 2 years ago. Tell me more about your
Yes,
experience.
it was 2 years. It actually took me 6 years in total. And that was partly because it was meant to be a 4-year course. But I was doing it on a business that I was executive chairman of. And so the flexible nature of the course did allow me time to be able to dip in and out of it. And during the time I was here, we did actually sell the business, which really took me out of the course for a good year. So that was one of the reasons why it took longer than I actually thought that it would do.
So 6 years sounds like an awful long time. Was that an arduous process or a joyful process?
Most of the time it was a joyful and very enriching process. Towards the end it got a bit of a heartache, and a couple of times during it got somewhat stressful, particularly during things like a detailed literature review. But overall I found it very enriching for a mixture of things, partly because it opened my eyes to what actually happens in the academic approach, so that I was able to interpret information much better using that style of approach. And the second thing, the cohort that I was with was extremely stimulating.
You said you sold your business halfway through the DBA. Was it more of an academic experience, or was it really a very practical experience?
Well, it was a mixture of both. I mean, it was mainly an academic experience, but the rigour of the academic... I mean, the reason I did the DBA is because I've used financial information to try and manage businesses, and fairly successfully, for 30 years. And one of the issues is that you use a lot of projections and forecasts, and they never work. So how come you're using a model that never seems to work, and yet it seems very effectively? And so that was a sort of, so the limitations and the potential benefits of accounting and financial management always had sort of interested me. And so doing the DBA gave me a very good way to be able to get behind that issue, and I think come away with, for myself, quite a good understanding of why it works, which is all related to the fact that life isn't as certain and a lot of more trial and error. And the background that I'd had, especially in my MBA from the 70s, was that there was a right answer, whereas the course opened me up to the realisation that there isn't a right answer, just good enough answers.
But it sounds as though it's given you a degree of legitimacy to be able to say that sort of thing.
Yes, very much so. That's right. And that's a very nice feeling of sort of confidence that actually one can sort of take that in and not feel sort of quelled. Oh, you should do it this way. So almost it's a Socratic thing. The more you know, the more you know you don't know, the more you do know. And so that was a very very good experience.
Dr. Smith will see you now. It sounds great. Tell us more about the supervisory relationship. How was that for you?
Great. I mean, it was Professor Andy Neely, who's one of the leading guys in performance management, and he found that, and he was excellent all the way through. Very focused and always making certain that I kept on the sort of straight and narrow, and which actually I quite appreciated as we got towards the end, was very much saying, because there's a certain stage with any academic work where you just have to get it done. Because you can go on so far and you have to draw a line even if it's not perfect, which fits in that life isn't perfect and it's all about good enough.
So life beyond DBA, where are you headed?
Well, I've sort of moved onto a sort of twin track approach of practice and theory. My sort of background is basically in relation to profit improvement and creating shareholder value, and I've worked with a range, sort of portfolio career, and I've worked with a range of companies and continue to do that with my approach sharpened by my DBA thinking. And alongside that, I've developed a sort of research side to my career. Initially, I thought I'd be doing it through as a sort of pure academic approach. And recently, I've moved it more to using the research, but in a practitioner space. I'm a member of the Council of the Chartered Accountants almost directly as a result of that. Obviously, because I sort of bring something to them which has an academic background in finance and accounting. I've published quite a few papers for accounting, for the Chartered Accounting management journals, and I'm actually working on a major paper with them on their thought leadership program on the role of the finance function, which I mean, so I'm working with a guy that's internal and I'm providing the external input, and if that comes out, I think that could be quite a interesting and major contribution to the development of the finance and accounting profession.
So Philip, you seem to be the perfect embodiment of what we love at Cranfield here, knowledge into action. Philip Smith, thank you very much indeed for your time.